You've been waiting to feel like you've arrived, like there's going to be a moment when the new version of you finally clicks into place. There isn't a moment. It's just a morning that you catch yourself making a decision that used to cost you 3 days of second guessing, and you realize you already have. Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding, not a tactic, not a hustle, a clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises, energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your daily power boost. I used to think crossing into a new identity would feel like a moment, some clear before and after. I'd wake up one morning, the old version of me would be visibly behind me. That's not how it works. A client once pushed back on a direction I'd already decided was right. The old version of me would have spent the next 40 minutes managing the friction, finding some version of agreement that kept the relationship comfortable, costing me the clarity I'd already earned. I know that version of me. I've watched him do that in hundreds of conversations. But I didn't do that. I held the position calmly. No apology for where I stood, and the conversation moved through it. I didn't notice what had changed until later. That's the thing about the new standard. You don't announce it, you just live from it. And then you turn around and see that you did. We've spent the last few episodes naming what actually shifts when the identity shifts. I don't mean the aspirational version, that specific, sometimes uncomfortable behavior. Today, we go to the room you've been standing outside of, wondering if you're actually in it yet. The room where the new standard is already operating, even if you haven't fully registered it. Leaders in the middle of a real identity shift are the last ones to believe it's happened. They'll tell me about a decision they made 3 weeks ago that they would never have made 6 months ago, a boundary they held without apology, and they'll say, "But I still don't feel like I'm there yet." I don't feel like I'm there yet. That's the old identity's last argument. It can't stop the new behavior anymore, so it finds you in the space between behavior and belief and tells you the evidence doesn't count. That's not humility. That's the old standard trying to maintain jurisdiction for a territory it no longer governs. For most high-performing leaders, the identity we built in the climb was organized around proof. Prove you're competent, that you belong in the room. And because that identity was organized around proof, it always needed more evidence. One more win, another year of consistency before the verdict came in. That identity doesn't retire. It has to be replaced. And the replacement isn't a feeling. It's a standard you operate from before the feeling arrives. If you've been doing this work, the new standard is likely already running. You just haven't issued yourself the credential yet because the old identity is holding the stamp. The new identity doesn't need the stamp. It just makes the call. This is what it actually looks like, not the ideal, reality. It's the meeting you walk out of where you said one true thing instead of 5 careful things. You didn't explain it to death. You said it, let it land, and moved on. It's the email you sent that 2 years ago would have gone through 6 drafts. You wrote it once, sent it, it was clear, and clarity turned out to be exactly what the other person needed. It's the hard decision you made at 9 a.m. that you didn't revisit at 11 p.m. You made it and you moved. None of these moments feels triumphant. That's the part nobody tells you about. The new standard doesn't arrive with a parade. It shows up as Tuesday, as an ordinary conversation where you happen to be a different person than you used to be. As a moment you almost missed because you were still looking for the arrival that already happened. One question to carry today. Think of a decision or a conversation you've had in the last 90 days where you acted from a place you don't fully recognize as your old self. You held the line, released the need to explain, and ask yourself, what was the standard operating in that moment? Not what you did, but what you were being when you did it. That's the new ground, and it's already under your feet. If there's a version of you operating from a new standard, but you haven't fully named it yet, the no-cost identity clarity call is where we do exactly that. We trace the new behavior back to the identity behind it and figure out what comes next from that place. You'll find a link in the show notes. Tomorrow we move into new territory because the new standard changes what happens in your relationships. Those closest to you, the ones where the old identity had the most say. We're going there next. With strength and heart, I'm Sean Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.